Good morning. Welcome to Elizabeth Sharon Ann Bible Study. So glad that you are with me this morning. It is February 28th, 2022, the very last day of the month. And time is flying. And I was thinking over the weekend about one of many things, but all of those New Year's resolutions that we probably did 2 months ago. How's that working for you today? Are you still working on whatever that was? Was it a something to improve your health, improve your mind, improve change or whatever? Because you don't change, you don't get anything different, right? So again, welcome. And if you have any prayer requests, post them on in the messages, and we'll be praying over those. Like this page, you go onto YouTube. We'd love for you to like that too and subscribe, so we can have we can just increase our audience and coverage and stuff, because people need Jesus today. As we see what's going on throughout the world, our country, it's just mind-boggling to think that we're seeing things that we're doing today. And I want to start off a little bit different. I really like to go in a row. I like organization. I want to start with this page and then go on to this page. But today I'm going to start out in the Psalms. And I'm doing that because just what's going on with the war in Ukraine. And as the last few days, I was realizing how much we do and take for granted our freedom. I was distracted. I was distracted just for a second. Our freedoms. Do you know, the other day, it was snowy and wasn't supposed to get out, but my husband took me to get my nails done. Of all things, I got my nails done. And people are being bombed in Ukraine. We went to the store. People aren't able to do that over there. I thought of so many things. And then I heard one statement whenever they were talking about, people leaving, but they were not letting any males leave that was between the age of 18 and 60 because they needed them there to fight. And that crushed me. The whole thing is sad, but what I thought, I've got an 18-year-old grandson that's beautiful, that's so precious to me. I can't see him on the front line holding some type of arsenal type gun. I mean, we have guns. I can't see him doing anything with a gun other than hunting. And so today, I want you to think about something that would be unique to your life, because there's like 44 million people in Ukraine. I'm sure today that there is a grandmother in Ukraine that's probably about 64-ish, that probably has an 18-year-old grandson, that she probably got on a train with all of the rest of the female people in her family to leave, and had to leave their sons, their grandsons, maybe their husbands behind. And that broke my heart. So today, as I was reading Psalms 44, I thought, this is for you, my friends in Ukraine, as well as Russia, because they don't like war either. They don't know who to shoot because they all look the same. I heard that on the news. Psalms 44:1 says, "Oh God, we have heard it with our own ears. Our ancestors have told us. All of you did in days long ago. You drove out the pagan nations by your power and gave all the land to our ancestors. You crushed their enemies." Verse 3, they did not conquer the land with their swords. It was not their own strong arm that gave them victory. See, they're asking for prayer. Prayer is, our intercessory prayer can go across the world, can go across the sea. See, we need to be praying for God's protection over all of the cities and villages of Ukraine. We need to pray for strengthening of the Ukrainian defenders. We need to pray for supernatural wisdom and strength of the president of Ukraine, the military staff, and all leaders in the state. We need to pray about preventing the landing of the enemy troops, because they don't want to go there either. There's so much. Can you see the enemy working both sides of the border? The final victory of Ukraine is what we pray for, the return of stolen lands and peace. Because you know what? My God is great, and he is with them. He is not against them. Verse 4 in Psalm says, "You are my King and my God. You command victories for Israel. You command victories for Ukraine." Verse 5 said, "Only by your power can we push back our enemies. Only in your name can we trample on our foes." See how pertinent our word is today? Verse 6, "I do not trust in my bow. I do not count on my sword to save me." Because see, we're not battling against flesh and blood. It's a spiritual realm. All of this is rooted in greed, hate, anger, distrust, deceit. Verse 7 says, "You are the one who gives us victory over our enemies. You disgrace those who hate us." Oh God, we give glory to you all day long and constantly praise your name. See, I saw pictures of people in some kind of a shelter singing praises to Jesus while the bombs are going on outside. That just gives me chills whenever I think about that kind of stuff, because see, I'm so selfish. I want to have maybe the right earrings with the right outfit. Maybe I want to have everything just laid out just right for me today. I didn't have to pack my bag and leave. Father, forgive me if I take anything for granted today, because I know he is above all. So as we think about remembering what all God has done, let's look at Leviticus 22:17 through 23:44. And this is about the festivals. And they had to remember what God has done. And what a greater way to do it than festivals. You know, today we celebrate birthdays as a reminder of when you were born. We celebrate Independence Day, 4th of July every year. We celebrate Jesus' birthday. We celebrate Easter whenever he rose. We've got our days. Most of them, for the most part, during my working career, was my holiday. I got paid on that day. I didn't have to work. I loved those holidays. But I don't know that I always really, really dug into, for the most part, oh, good, it's Memorial Day. We get to go to the lake and be in our boat and ski all day. But as far as everything here goes, let me get my other Bible out, because it just kind of sums it up. The Passovers, the feast, the Jewish feast and celebration. See, they had Sabbath, and the meaning of that is rest. And Hebrews 4:9 and 10 reminds us that Christ is our rest. Then the Passover, the meaning of that was deliverance. 1 Corinthians 5:7 talks about Christ is our Passover. The unleavened bread was our sustenance. And Christ is the bread of life, John 6:35. First fruits. This is from the first harvest. Christ resurrection. 1 Corinthians 15:23. And then there was the weeks, and that was the full harvest. Christ church begins. Acts 2. There was the trumpets. This was the joy in God's goodness. This is Christ's return. 1 Thessalonians 4:15-18. Day of Atonement. This was the atonement for sin. Christ atoning death. Romans 3:24-26. And then the booths or the tabernacles. And this was for the provision in the wilderness. Christ's provision, Christ is our provision. John 6:32-33. And as I was studying that, and I've got lots and lots of notes on that, but I just didn't quite go through all of that as I was looking today, because he kept reminding people, I am the Lord. And today, what do you need to do to remind yourself that he is your Lord? Don't bring shame on his holy name. I was the one that rescued you. See, I've got a little book here that I had bought. It's a devotion. I mean, I got it on sale at Mardell's one day, and I didn't pick it up for a long time. And then one of my daughters got sick. And I picked it up, and I thought, I'm going to start writing down things that happen in this devotion. And I'll just be able to remember how God walked with us through every day. And I did that through several years of treatments and things that was going on. And you know, this is kind of like my reminder. I picked it up today and looked at February 28th. There wasn't anything significant for her healing or my other daughter's healing. But I just simply wrote in this today. Thank you, Jesus, for this magnificent Monday of 2022. I'm able to call and talk to both my daughters. The journey was a challenge. However, the memories are a testimony to your faithfulness. And I want to remember, because this all started in 2005. And if I would have known in 2005 that today, 2022, it's okay, it would have been a changer for me. But it increased my strength, and it helped me as I went through all of those days. Okay, let's move on to, well, Lori, I got weepy just like you do sometimes. And you know what? When we talk about our kids, we tend to, don't we? All right, Mark 9:30, 10-12. This one will take the tears away for me. Okay, so leaving that region, they traveled through Galilee. Jesus didn't want anyone to know he was there. And did you read why? He wanted to spend more time with his disciples and teach them. What an amazing day that would have been. Jesus said, I just want to spend time with you. I just want us to get away from all of the people. He's been healing everybody everywhere he goes, because they all know that this man heals people. They can be blind. They can be dead. Their legs broken. He can touch them. He can look at them. He can just tell them, get up. He can spit on their eye and they can see. But he just wanted to spend time with them. Wow, what an awesome day that was. How much time do you spend with him each day? He still wants to spend time with you today. Then he goes on to tell them that the Son of Man is going to be betrayed. How could that happen? This amazing, wonderful man that's just spending time with his disciples is going to be betrayed. who in the world would ever do that? He said, and then he told him that he will be killed, but 3 days later, he will rise from the dead. That's a tough one to understand whenever you're, you just can't comprehend. What did he say? They're probably just looking at each other and whispering, let's talk about this in a little bit, because I really don't know. I don't really get what he's saying. As they arrived at Capernaum and settled into a house, Jesus asked his disciples, see, he heard them mumbling and grumbling on the road. And I love this. What were you discussing out on the road? They probably really thought they were quiet. They probably thought, how does he know? I told you were whispering too loud. But they didn't answer, because it says they were arguing on which one was the greatest. Isn't that just like us? I know that you're my favorite and I'm your favorite. But would we really argue about that? I said, Sharon, you're watching with us. I know, Sharon, that I'm your favorite. But you know what? I bet everybody else knows that they're Sharon's favorite too. So here's the beautiful thing. He sat down and called the disciples over to him. He sat down. See, they're caught up in their struggle for success. And they don't want to tell him anything, because they're probably about halfway ashamed of what they were saying. My thoughts in that one. But he didn't try to counter anything that they said there. He just simply sits down like he's going to preach. And then he takes, and it says, Jesus said, whoever wants to be first must take last place and be the servant of everyone else. And then he put a little child among them. Taking the child in his arms, he said, anyone who welcomes a little child like this on my behalf welcomes me. Anyone who welcomes me welcomes not only me, but also my Father who sent me. See, this is a new approach, because children were considered second class. I mean, it's just a kid. They're supposed to be seen and not heard. I heard that whenever I was growing up. It wasn't to be mean. It was just like, Debbie, you're talking too much. You're making too much noise. Go away. So what happens whenever you're the youngest of the youngest of the family? But whenever he sat down and did this was more effective than a rebuke of their arguing. He recreated and transferred ambition from self to service whenever he said this. See, he continued teaching them. And I think that is so great. And then on down, this is great too. John said to Jesus, we saw someone using your name to cast out demons, but we told him to stop because he wasn't in our group. We told him to stop because he was a Baptist. He's not a Methodist. We told him to stop because he's a Catholic. He's not a Presbyterian. We told him to. Oh, man. People don't have to be just like us to be following Jesus with us. Isn't that amazing how we want to draw that line here? Because, I've got a pink Bible, and this is the best Bible ever. Oh, yours is brown or black. Oh, this is the pink one is the best one. And he said, don't stop him. They were probably a little bit frustrated, because you remember just a few verses ago, they weren't able to cast out a demon. And now here's somebody that's not in their group, and they're doing it. And so he goes on to say, if anyone gives you even a cup of water because you belong to the Messiah, I tell you the truth, that person will surely be rewarded. And then verse 42, but if you cause one of these little ones to trust in me to fall into sin, it would be better for you to be thrown into the sea with a large millstone hanging around your neck. You could reword that. If you cause any of these new Christians who trust me to fall into sin. See, we want to make sure that whenever we're walking alongside someone that's new in the Christian walk, that we don't sidetrack them with something that's not true. We want to make sure that we're reading the word and we're studying and we're letting God direct our words to those new people. And see, that large millstone is something like that they would have hooked onto or tied a rope to it and around this donkey or whatever to grind stuff. This was huge. So if you had a millstone hung around your neck, you drown, you die. So then verse 43, if your hand causes you to sin, cut it off. It's better to enter eternal life with one hand than to go into unquenchable fires of hell with two hands. And, what this is talking about is painful discipline is required sometimes for followers. We may have thought we always had it all together, but really, there might have been some things that we learned wrong. And so if you learn it wrong and you want somebody to pull you aside, love you enough to tell you. And one of my notes I thought was good. This part, verse 43 through 47, is not a demand for physical self-mutilation. See, he didn't mean for you to poke your eye out, cut your hand off, cut anything off, because that doesn't control sin. This is just telling how serious that it would be. You can still sin in your mind, in your heart. Jesus' message is clear. It's worth any sacrifice to avoid hell. And then we go on down to verse 49. For everyone will be tested with fire. Oh, I wanted to read that out of my other Bible. Because, see, they're a little different. And my New King James, this is what I wanted to read that out of. It says, for everyone will be seasoned with fire. Every sacrifice will be seasoned with salt. Salt is good, but if the salt loses its flavor, how will you season it? Have salt in yourselves and peace with one another. See, Jesus speaks of salt and fire. He used salt to illustrate three qualities that that should be found in his people. We should remember God's faithfulness. We should make a difference in the flavor of the world we live in, just as salt changes meat's flavor. We should counteract the moral decay in society as salt preserves food from decay. When we lose this desire to salt the earth with love and the message of God, we become useless to him. See, I don't want that to happen. And then chapter 10. Oh goodness, we get here. Here's the fun one. He goes into marriage and divorce. And so that I have been married in the past and married now. My husband and I have been married 38 years now, going on 30, but obviously going on 39. That would be the next number, since I like to go in a row. But, so does this mean that, my marriage today is valid? Is it, what's that? What's all that about? The Pharisees came to Jesus because they were always wanting to find something to get him on. And they say, what did Moses say about the law of divorce? Another, and up above that, should a man be allowed to divorce his wife? So another version in my other Bible, it says, is it lawful for a man to divorce his wife? Is it lawful? So the question is it lawful? Then lawful is understood by any just reason, and they were looking for that. And Jesus transitions this talk about divorce to marriage, because just to stop there for a second, now let's remember that where he's at, and John has just been beheaded by Herod's group because of his situation. John was critical and told him, you are not supposed to marry or divorce your wife and marry your brother's wife, who happens to be your niece, and live with her. See, that was all twisted, super twisted. And so, were they trying to trap him and get another reason because he would be criticizing Herod? Or did they really want to know about the law? I think they were deceitful, don't you? Whenever he said, what did Moses say? And they said, well, he permitted it. You can give your wife a notice of divorce and send her away. But Jesus responded. He wrote this commandment only as a concession to your hard hearts. Because, see, it is meant for us to be married one time to our husband, to our wife. This is a man and a woman, because Jesus went back to the very beginning when he said in verse 6, God made them male and female from the beginning of creation. This explains why a man leaves his father and mother and is joined to his wife. And the two are united into one, since they are no longer two but one. Let no one split apart what God has joined together. See, the real problem is they didn't understand what God says about marriage. Divorce can't be seen as an option on challenging days. See, you don't enter marriage with the thought, if it doesn't work out, that I'll just pack up my bags and leave. Now, there's sometimes that, if your life is at stake, then, that's a whole different deal. You may have to pack up and leave. But to go back to the beginning of it, marriage is like a mirror. It reflects what we put into it. So when he talks about being joined together, here's a good thing to remember. Joined together is literally like being yoked. Like whenever you yoke two animals together, couples must be yoked together to work together just like that. Because if you see two oxen yoked at the neck and they can only move forward, if one turns to the left, so does the other one. If he turns to the right, so does the other one, because see, their heads are yoked. It's not really easy for them to back up, because it feels different whenever you're just moving forward. You are together. And if one of them is struggling to go, the other one is there to give the momentum to push forward. Joined together. It's not always a walk in the park, because we still have different personalities. We still think differently, but the longer that we push forward and we are yoked together to move forward, the longer that we understand and we build that deeper relationship with our spouse. See, I didn't have that whenever I first got married because we were both teenagers. What teenagers know how to, how to be an adult? Some do. I had many friends that got married at the same time, and they're still married today, and I think that's awesome. It's just that we weren't mature. So later, when he was alone with his disciples again, they brought up the subject again, and he told them, whoever divorces his wife and marries someone else commits adultery against her. And if a woman divorces her husband and marries someone else, she commits adultery. See, I lived for a long time thinking that well, it's over. I'm doomed. But it goes on to tell me in this Bible that he's forgiven us of our ridiculous choices that we made back when we were kids, or even yesterday. Because see, I still make silly choices day by day, and I pray and repent day by day. And my time is up today, folks. But we're going to leave on Proverbs 10:19. My other problem is too much talking, and look at Proverbs 10:19. Too much talk leads to sin. Be sensible and keep your mouth shut. So today, friends, love one another and dream big today, and pray for everybody in Ukraine and in Russia and all of our friends that are needing prayers here today, because we got sicknesses and things going on and challenges in the United States. Anyway, I love you, and Elizabeth will be back tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.